You made mistakes, you got cocky, and you didn't get it done. That is the story of the Chiefs getting the loss in Indy to the Colts that should have had no business in that game. We're going to go through it all, give you our notes, and tell you who is to blame right now on Locked On Chiefs, RGR football conglomeration. Good Lord. Let's get after it. Clearly, folks, I am flustered. I did not expect to have to do this kind of intro today. Yeah. We know you're pissed. We don't blame you a bit. The Chiefs mistakenly forgot how to play the game, and that is mostly on the coaching staff, in my opinion. And I'm sorry, folks, you're going to hear it from me today. Welcome. This is RGR Football, where we break down and give you the honest takes on what we all just had to watch and where it went wrong, because there's plenty of blame to go around. And I will start this right now by saying no one is left out. Everyone is to blame. We're going to cover it. Why? This is Dan Harms, my right-hand man. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is RGR Football, where we do this. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell, because this one's going to be interesting, and I know you guys have a lot to say. We will get to a little bit of your thoughts as well. Dan, just from start to finish, from special teams faux pas to ridiculous play calls to just a free-for-all, this just felt like a team that, A, limped off the bus, and B, did not take this Colts team seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing I've got going on back here. The Chiefs showed up with half their effort. I show up with half my background. So I'm matching the Chiefs today, guys, just let you know. And the problem here, I talked about it on the breakdown, or on the game plan. The very first thing that I talked about, stay engaged. You want to know what? Not one there was nobody that was engaged except the defense. Offense and special teams was nowhere. They were gone. Mahomes was under pressure all day. The offensive line was garbage. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't even protect Patrick Mahomes. He was running for his life. He was holding on to the ball too. Receivers aren't getting open. Travis Kelce is an easy place to go to, and that defense knew it. There's no excuse for what just happened in that game.
And Tatum said it perfectly. Everyone had a hand in it. There's about three guys that I would leave out of that. One being Mike Burton, who did everything he was asked of. Two being, I think, at the end of the day, this was a reflection in a positive way on what Brendan Daly has done as moving to the linebackers coach.
Yes.
Because I thought the linebackers adapted and played well. I was disappointed with Harris early because that play to the rookie tight end. This team has a problem with tight ends, folks, and it's not the personnel.
Always has.
This is the staff. And it's not going away. When you make a rookie tight end who hasn't caught a pass look like he's all world because you don't bother to prepare for the tight end in this offense, it's your mistake. I thought Harris obviously didn't understand what his responsibility was there on that first touchdown. I was disappointed with that. And my notes reflect that. But I also came back a few drives later and said, okay, he's clicking now. He's hitting the swing passes. He's where he has to be. And honestly, Darius Harris, from a spot drop playing forward, he really improved his game inside this ball game, in my opinion.
He looked really good. Really, him and Bolton were the guys on defense in that linebacking position that did a really good job. Harris, again, early, didn't know what was going on. He looked confused. I think obviously you have some coaching on the sidelines getting him prepared. Obviously, some jitters too. Like he's out there replacing Willie Gay. You got some things you have to do. So he did a good job at adapting, adjusting, and tackling. He didn't miss many tackles when he was coming downhill, which is what you really want to see from somebody who's taking over that spot. So again, good job on Harris to get back in. I thought the defensive line had moments. Let's just say that, because otherwise, outside of like Chris Jones, I mean, Dunlap had his sack, but it was because Matt Ryan fled the pocket. There wasn't much interior pressure. There wasn't a whole lot of collapsing the pocket. There was blitzing, and the blitzing was confusing the offensive line, which is very obvious. There is still a struggle bus in Kansas City to get after the quarterback with your front four. It's still there. And I know that they had some good moments, with the fumbles and getting Matt Ryan down to the ground, a couple sacks, but that wasn't necessarily because the defensive line was great in terms of getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, and as I read through my notes, I have the same thing over and over where I made one observation about a player or a group, and then it changed, right? Because I thought that first time that Dunlap had to actually chase Matt Ryan, he looked really slow and unable to accelerate. I mean, he's a long strider kind of guy to begin with. And he improved as the game went on. I felt that was true too. I felt the same thing about Colin Saunders. I have to go back and watch the tape, but I thought Saunders played a pretty good game. He did bend the pocket a little bit, at least flush a little bit, but that's not enough. And we'll talk about him playing fullback later, folks. You guys know I'm excited about that, but there are very few positive takeaways for me in this game.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's on everyone to adapt and overcome, but you can't do that and overcome bad coaching decisions. When you realize that you're getting too high and Patrick's still looking downfield first, trying to hit home runs, it's as though the last 2 games where teams got blitz happy with them, you completely forgot about last season. And were like, oh, we're just going to go back to doing our thing. Whereas I thought Juju was cooking pretty good underneath. He was getting yak. He wasn't getting a lot of separation, but he was making catches. If they had made the decision to go to the quick game, get the ball out, and just hit him in stride and take 6, 7, 8, 10 yards at a time, this is a completely different ballgame.
Also, McCole Hardman, 1 catch. He had 1 target. He had
a bad heel, too.
Well, he did, but if he's on the field, target him. I'm sorry. You can't just do it 1 time in the first half and then say, you're still healthy enough to play, but we're not going to use you at all. So if he's not healthy enough to play, get Sky Moore out there. Get Justin Watson out there. People who can function, you can target. That is another coaching problem. If you're going to have somebody on the field that can't contribute to the offense, they can't be on the field. Get them off. Get somebody on there that can. Coaching in this game was such a problem. I know everyone's yelling at Eric Bieniemy. You want to know what? Andy Reid, I know that Matt Derrick said he has 51% of the overall coaching decisions in play calling. He has 90%. All Eric Bieniemy is doing is radioing those plays into Patrick Mahomes. So you can blame Eric Bieniemy all you want to. This is an Andy Reid problem. It's a consistent issue year after year where they continuously fall behind. They get into their old stuff that they can't seem to get out of. And Andy Reid needs to understand that he can't just keep going back to the well. You have to adapt. He's not adapting. And multiple times they come into games against a team that gets blown out the week before or is not a good team. The Colts are not good, guys. They're a bad football team. And they had no energy. There was no spark. And it's on Andy Reid with a long week to prepare. They were not prepared for this game.
Yeah, it was frustratingly simple to do. I thought they came out and they ran enough to get started. And even Andy talked about it at halftime. We didn't establish the run. I know you guys love to hear me talk about establishing a run.
Yeah, right.
I didn't say it. Andy did. And then he didn't do it. So he clearly has the speak to recognize, hey, I should probably go in this direction. But he didn't have the cojones to go do it. He couldn't be self-controlling enough to change direction. And I think that's the bigger problem when we look at all of this. I thought had a couple of nice screenplay calls that went for good yardage. But the problem with the screens, you can't overcall them because they don't work. So you have to set them up with something else. And again, the quick game was not used enough to compensate for the fact that they were taking some guys away over the top. This comes back to coaching, and he's not the only one. I cannot think of a poorer decision to have a right-handed punter roll left and throw the ball to a third tight end on a play that you had to have if you were going to pull that off.
It was a close field goal, too. It's not like they were kicking a 40, 50-yard field goal. Or, I mean, it was probably like a 42-yard field goal. If you're going to go for him 4th down, why are you just saying, Patrick Mahomes, we don't want you to do that? Why? What if you don't have confidence in the kicker? Put confidence in your quarterback. That gives him one, Amendola, who missed a kick later because he had no confidence. You wouldn't let him kick the field goal the first time. It also gives Patrick Mahomes, like, what am I doing? I'm on the sideline on 4th and 10. It was a poorly coached game. They were not just out coached, which is hard to do because they should have lost that game over and over again by all the dumb coaching decisions they made. You can't have it. Andy Reid something's got to happen because we talk about getting better and players when they come out of college into the NFL, getting better and adapting. Andy Reid's never going to adapt anymore. Like, this is what he does. This is an every year problem. We talk about him understanding, and I can talk till I'm blue in the face about it, but Andy Reid does not do a good job preparing for bad teams. They find ways to do this every single year.
Yeah. You rely on your phenomenal experience. And I think that leads to just general complacency of realizing that we have the talent to do this. On paper, we should do this. And folks, I know I'm a little fired up today because this is what grinds my gears the most is when you have the talent, you have the prowess. There's no reason this game should have been close. Let alone a loss. It shouldn't have been close. That's the problem, is underestimating enough that you put yourself in this position to allow something like this, where a team that the scariest portion of this team is the running game, and the defense handled that. They locked him down. I think it was 52 yards at the half point, and only 71 on the day, to maybe the scariest running back in this league. The thing that should have been the thorn in their side, they handled it. Everything else is just an excuse. I think there's a lot still has to come here from the player side, from the coaching side. Obviously, we talked about what's predictable, and this is on Andy. When you're at the 1 yard line and you're coming off of a quick play and you're trying to get this thing done, a shovel pass for no reason at all, when you don't have the confidence to get a single yard, is a problem that continues to haunt this team, especially when every time you give it to Mike, he gets a first down. And you guys, I'm not trying to just do the fullback thing that I believe in, but I'm just saying you have a play, an A player that has literally never failed at doing that job. And you just don't do it. That was just too cute. That was just too much. I want to do it because I can. And if Kelsey doesn't recover his own fumble there, it's a whole different ball game in a much worse way. So
it's just so bad, man.
It's terrible. And they have to go through this. It seems that these teams, led by this coaching staff, have to do this once in a while to figure themselves out. I just didn't figure it was going to be here. What they had a chance to be 4-0 in the first quarter, which is better than I originally thought. If this turns out to be a 3-1 in the first quarter team and the losses to the Colts, I don't know how to come back from that, other than you got to pull your act together.
That's all it is. Like it feels like they don't know how to manually set themselves up for a game. Against a team they should destroy. This game should. Gus Bradley is the defensive coordinator back here. Okay. A defensive coordinator that they have, every year they played him, have lit him up.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that he didn't do a good job of adjusting, because they did. They did a good job. Obviously, Mahomes misses MVS on a touchdown throw. The first drive of the game, just misses him. Mahomes, on you. He has done this a couple times where he has been overcooking some of these balls. He's got to figure out what's going on with this. And multiple times also, he's putting, honestly, that Juju catch that went for 50 yards, Mahomes put it behind him. It was behind him.
Yeah.
And
just like the pass to Travis a couple plays before that, right? Like so there's definitely some things going on there.
Yeah. These issues, they're not just going to solve themselves. Like, that's the second game in a row where his accuracy, when he's usually pretty good at throwing away from defenders and getting guys into positions where they can catch it or at least get them out of danger, it's starting to affect what's going on. So I think they will get right. Like, I'm not saying that they're a bad team, but when you have games like this, it keeps bringing up those things that Andy Reid continuously has every single year. I know they'll figure out their issues. This is week 3. Like, this wasn't a week 16 game. Like, this wasn't them doing it in week 16. So there's always going to be a little overreaction when games like this happen, especially when they happen every single year. But when you have to have Jerick McKinnon yelling to players inside of a huddle before Mahomes gets out the plays, you got some problems. You got some real problems.
It is a general malaise, I think, that everyone expects that they're able to just do as they please. And you got to remember, this league, while the Chiefs win in disparity in good margin a lot of the time, this league is tighter than it looks. Yep. Small things, small details change ball games. And I think that the players in some way have gotten a little complacent with that too. Yeah, I hope that the turmoil from today turns it around, because there are some good things in my notes too.
Yes.
Ngakoue was having a pretty good day to start it off. He got very quiet as the day went on. So that kudos to them. I thought Orlando might have had his worst game as a Chief today.
Yep.
Wiley didn't look particularly good, especially Ngakoue speed-wise, but they settled down, and it didn't get worse as the game went on. So, I'll give them kudos for that. Trey Smith, I want to shout him out because nobody's talking about him because it wasn't an edge rusher, but he handled the toughest matchup in that front pretty well today. So there are definitely positives there, but it wasn't a unit. I think there was one where McKinnon completely got destroyed in a pass block that he's usually very good at.
Yeah.
That caused them that. I'm going through the notes here. The guys there's the overthrow to Watson as well. That could have led there. There's a lot of little things that added up to this loss. So the question then becomes, is this an apparition, or is this something they're going to continue to do? Because you have to learn from your mistakes. Brian Cook played a pretty good ball game today from what I saw. He had a mess of a game last week. So you have to take it and move forward. Who do you think it mostly has to, who are the top three guys that have to take this game, throw it out, and get back on track?
I think Orlando Brown has to do that. If you want this offense to flow, Mahomes has to stop being flushed from the pocket in 1.5 seconds. And when Orlando Brown's on his back 4 times in this game, I think I counted 4 different times that he was pushed onto the ground and then just beaten around the edge. You have to get better. And again, we've pressed on this. You want to be paid top money? That's not happening. You have effectively ended any kind of leverage you thought you had. It was gone. You got nothing. Yeah. It's gone. Over. Yeah. Second person, honestly, it's Dave Toub.
Yeah.
Every year, I know that they find a way to get it right. They got some issues. They got some issues on special teams. Like, it wasn't even just the muffs. I understand he's getting used to doing that. But why is he having issues continuously? This was an issue earlier in the season. I know that Trent McDuffie's hurt now and he's not able to do returns, but this was a ball tracking issue he's had during the training camp process. Right now, it's hard. I know he'll get better, and this is some growing pains you have to deal with. But Dave Toub, and then you have Chris Lamons catching the ball on the 11-yard line instead of letting it bounce to the 1, which it was going to bounce. Like, these little mental miscues from the special teams coordinator and the entire group was so bad today. And obviously, Pacheco returning things when he doesn't need to. Like, there's no reason for him to take the ball out back 10 yards deep in the end zone. There's no reason for that. I get you're a 4-3 runner. I don't care. Understand your situation. And MVS. Mark, outside of the one where he beat his man and just ran for what would have been a touchdown. I mean, I don't want to say that Mahomes didn't have any blame, but I believe he's going to get it right. That's why I'm not talking about him. Mahomes has shown time and time again that when they have struggles, he gets it right and comes through. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has issues. He can't get open, guys. And when he does, he's just sitting in his zone. And then he just looks like he's lost after the catch, which he is. He doesn't know how to do anything after the catch. And he's showing you regardless every single day. So I'm frustrated because they paid this guy, honestly, in my opinion, for no reason. And I want to see Sky Moore on the field more.
I want to too. I'm interested to see how many snaps, because I don't have him on the offensive side in my notes at all.
1. I saw him on the field 1 time.
Yeah. Okay. Like, we'll see what the snap comes cut out, folks, and we'll break those down as we always do. Again, if you are not one of us yet, click the like for this video. I'm sorry I'm so fired up, but I got to give you the truth, and that's what we do here. It's not fan-based. This is about analysis. Sometimes you still got to get pissed off. Click the sub, become one of us here, and hit that bell so that you find out when we're live and that kind of thing. Joel, I appreciate you. I hope that wasn't sarcasm. I hope that right. Because I am confident. Every team that Andy Reid runs has these kind of moments. The problem is you can't let them snowball. So, there's a lot of teams today that are having frustration. The Bills lost to a division rival that I think is still an upstart. So there's problems there. They only scored 20 points. The Chargers don't look good. Like, there's a lot going on.
The Chargers are down 13-0 to the Jags right now.
Oh, so are they really? Okay.
Yes,
okay.
They are.
Well, see, that's what I get for not paying attention after we start doing this. So
I just started to look.
There's a lot of teams that are struggling. Like, there are weeks in the NFL that are like this, where everybody kind of like miscues, doesn't hit on all cylinders. And that's just, it's how you respond from that. And I think there are some positives there. I thought, again, the uptick that we saw from Dunlap during the game, Harris during the game, I thought Saunders played pretty well.
Yeah.
I thought they did a decent side. Hey, Frank Clark showed up today.
Yes,
folks.
He did. He was all over the place.
That's a positive. I don't like the usage for Karlaftis. You mentioned it before in that touchdown play. I did like one thing they did with him. I think it was on the Dunlap sack. George was like in the A gap.
Yeah.
It was a 3-man with an outside rush, and he pushed the pocket there. So at least on the defensive side, they're doing a few collective things. Now we're going to go through the film like we always do, and we're going to wrap up here in a minute, folks, with a bunch of your questions. If you want to get a question and hit that super chat, that will help me find them, because we are a little bit pressed for time as we try to get everything else done. You can check out Matt, who was on with us live on the Chiefs show for Locked On Chiefs, he had some probably more measured comments than me. You know, if you're looking for a ray of sunshine, Matt's the guy to go find it. I'm just saying. Donnie, do I have to watch the special teams tape? No, my friend. Even if you pay for season tickets, there's nothing that says you got to go do that again. There's no pain. Don't worry.
I don't know, man.
We'll do that for you. Or maybe we won't, because
I was about to say, I don't know if I want to do that. That sounds
like too painful.
That's a real bad time.
Rich, thank you for the support, and thank you, Donnie, as always. Are you fooling ourselves about this offensive line? In all honesty, they're not as good as we thought. They certainly aren't starting that way. And I will, the only asterisk I'll give you, Rich, I think it's the tackles.
Yes.
I think the interior three, while they have their matchups where they have trouble with, I think the interior three are just fine.
I want to, like I said, shout out Trey Smith, because there was a play where now there was some pressure from Buckner coming, pushing him in the backfield, but he never ever lost leverage. Okay, he was getting pushed. He reestablished. Mahomes did move out, and the reason he got sacked was because Orlando Brown got beat around the edge. Yeah. It wasn't because, and then Trey Smith proceeded to reestablish his hands and put Buckner in the ground. He put him in the ground. This was not. Yeah, he had a good game. This interior is a top 3 interior in the NFL. The tackles are a problem. Okay. And it's not going to be solved by Orlando Brown playing tennis. Sorry, it's not going to be solved.
That's the problem, is that at least is something that could show you to have quicker feet. They didn't show up on the film today.
Oh, no.
Maybe the problem is he isn't playing enough tennis.
Or he's doing it wrong.
Well, there could be that too. But in all honesty, Rich, you have a solid point. But playing as a 5, yes, there are problems. I think the tackles have to improve drastically, and I think the Chiefs have to change the way that they're using them. Yeah. I think they have to be more aggressive rather than the vertical sets that clearly are not working for neither Orlando, and Andrew had a tough day today as well. I think you have to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe set 45 a little bit more so you can get strike in on people before they're 2 steps into your body. And I think that's part of the problem myself.
Anybody know what Lucas Niang's up to? Anyone? Please give me something.
If you happen to be a junior athletic trainer for the Kansas City Chiefs, my email is rgrpodcast@gmail.com, and I'm sure we'll keep this confidential.
Please let us know. I just need some hope.
How bad is EB really? Tired of watching his play calling? You got to remember, EB's ferrying the plays in, like Dan said before. He's not necessarily making all the calls. Andy still has control of this call, and I think Andy, like Patrick, I think Andy and Patrick are like this. The fact that Patrick's looking deep when it's a too high shell and not taking the easy passes, that's on Andy as well, because he should be in his ear. Take what's easy, move the ball, get going, put points on the board, period. This team scored 17 points when they usually can do that in under 2 minutes.
It's tough, man. I want to see who was open, because I think that there also could be a problem. Mahomes said in his press conference that he was holding on to it too long. That usually means one of 2 things. Either the guys aren't getting open, or he's trying to let the play develop. Those are 1 or 2 things are happening. So if he's holding it because he's waiting for someone downfield, that's more on Mahomes. If he's holding it because the guys aren't getting open and he's like, I have nowhere to go, then we have a whole different discussion.
That's why the slant game is the antidote for that. You don't have to get open. You have to use your body to shield yourself on an 8-yard slant and get the ball moving. That's it. This is high school ball to me. Like, and it infuriates me because people want me to like coach their high school teams or help out with my local one. And I'm like, you do not want me, because we will pepper people to death and people will become very tired of me and my thoughts. Was Wiley hurt? He was. And I'll give him credit for that. He actually played better after he left the ball game than he did before. So
I think he got something in his eye, honestly. I think that's what happened.
Was that what it was? Okay.
It looked like he was like doing this, like he was. I saw a couple close-ups, like he was squinting. So I think something may have gotten in his eye, and he didn't know, he couldn't see. So, but yeah, credit to him for playing much better after he came back.
Thoughts on Hardman through 3 games? I shouldn't have to say this, but it's too small a sample size. He hasn't done anything.
No. And I'm going to go ahead and retract every statement I made about him being a 1,000-yard receiver this year, because that ain't happening. It's not happening. Everything. So, yeah, I was trying to get that going this season. Guys, he's not going to be a Chief in 2023. I can tell you that almost right now.
It's highly unlikely. But sometimes you got to try to speak things into existence. That is a thing as well.
Why
did the Chiefs never take the easy over the middle on the sideline 8 to 10 yard passes? They started to get MVS involved with those easy quick outs, and that was the right thing. But that takes patience and it takes discipline. And Patrick wants to hit the big plays, and that's part of the problem. And why is Sky Moore not getting opportunities? That's the bigger question.
Yes.
When you have when you have two players like Jody Fortson and Sky Moore who should be instant spark when they come in the ball game because they create mismatches just by stepping on the field, and you're not getting to them, there's some kind of stubbornness factor in my opinion.
I mean, look at Spags. It's a guy who did not want to play young players early. He didn't want to, but he's kind of being forced to do that. Andy right now is in my opinion being forced to, because you have players not stepping up and he's doing the opposite. He's still playing MVS Juju a ton instead of working Sky into the rotation. He's not doing that, and it's hurting his confidence, and it's showing up in special teams in my opinion.
Yeah, you'll get no argument from me there. And it was everybody on special teams. It wasn't even very specific today. Everybody was making special teams problems.
Worry about it.
Knicks fan, you're absolutely right. If you hit one of those, it's a different ballgame. If you hit two of them, it's over. Harrison Butker can't return fast enough. And nothing against Amendola. I'm not going to run down Amendola, the replacement kicker. He's doing the best that he can. There's a reason that he didn't have a job before Butker got hurt.
Yeah.
Like, you can only expect so much from a guy filling in, but they definitely need Butker back. Gina, I don't want to hear all the pressers. We got to clean things up. Some things will never change, and they were spoiled brats today. Chris, let your play do the talk. Gina, I can't really argue with you at all.
No, but I would like to say I would love to know what
did he say?
That is not, unless it's like some racist or over the top thing that he said that is worth a 15-yard penalty.
Right.
I would love to know, in that situation, you wanted to tilt the game. I will not ever say that one play like that cost the Chiefs losing, because there were so many other things wrong that they did, offense and special teams, to lose this game. But it was over. It was over. And I want to know what he said, because there's no way that whatever he said, and like I said, unless there's some extreme words being used, that it should have been a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Zach, I think we talked about Saunders. I'm pretty happy with his performance.
Really good.
Need to see the film, but definitely, like, he popped out visually in the midst of a play where I wasn't actually watching him specifically.
Multiple times.
Yeah, there's positives there. And honestly, this was the game that I needed to see from him. Otherwise, I was about to be the point where, like, hey, if he doesn't show anything, I can't bring him back. I can't be for that, even though he's my guy. It is what it is.
Yeah.
TPT, thank you, Jaden. Orlando Brown was terrible because you need to rally their troops. EB needs to chill out. So who's going to step up in the wide receiver room? Again, I thought Juju had his game there. Juju's not like a world man beater. He can do it pretty well. He's good in the zone, but you can feed him the slant, and you can feed him the outs, and you can take the quick game. He and MVS can both play the quick game because of their body types. Just do that.
Yeah.
Make defenses change. That needs to be the new mantra. Not do enough to take your shot and get your big play. Make the defense change. That's what has to happen. No,
they won't do it.
If they did, it'd be a whole new universe. Thank you, Jaden. Appreciate you. Iron Man, this team doesn't have the running back to run the ball. ain't it? I don't trust 10, and McKinnon isn't an every down back. I disagree. I think CH can. I think he showed more explosiveness. I think he's the one guy that's showing some vision. I mean, McKinnon's great with Yak, but inside the tackles, I don't know that I trust his vision either.
I mean, there's a problem with the tackles and sometimes consistency in run blocking, because while CH had some issues today finding some of the holes, I also think that he is very coaching oriented. I think that they tell him to strictly run the play. He needs some variation and some he can take some time, okay, to look. He missed a wide open a cutback on the touchdown. It should have been a touchdown run. They should have done that. He's got some issues in reading the plays out, but the offensive line has been a big issue in them running the ball. Also, they're not sticking to it. Like I know they had enough of them, and when I say enough of them, they ran the ball, but they didn't really try to establish anything with the offensive line. There was no, we want to do this, because the offensive line looked like they didn't want to, and that's kind of a problem.
Well, and I'll say this too, like, they're still not doing the things that CH is best about. Like, some of the plays that they did get yards on was like power pulls. That works. That's what he's good at. I didn't see him run counter once today. I didn't see him run any pitches. The two things that allow Clyde to have space and vision to do what he does well, they're still not doing.
Another angle route for 10 yards, by the way.
I know, right? Like, you guys remember talking about that the day he got drafted? Just run the pivots. The pivots and arrows, you're done. I know.
Once.
I know. And for a team that isn't usually scared to go back to a play that works, in that particular player, in this scenario, they just refuse to do it. And it's baffling to me. Let's see. Got a couple more here, folks, and we'll wrap it up for the night. Thank you for being with us, because there's a lot of people you could be watching right now.
Yeah, love it. Love you guys.
In here post game. We love it. Hardman is gone next year, right? Yeah, it leans like that way. He's going to have to really have a stupendous run here to change that. Pacheco was running 5 yards. Was averaging 5? Did he really?
I think he had 2 runs that were like 4 and 5 yards, but it was just 2 runs.
Okay. He ended the day 3 for 9 with a 3-yard average.
Okay.
So, just barely right in there with McKinnon. Clyde obviously got 0.
Yeah, he had no yards.
Yeah, there was
that play where he just could not. He got tackled 3 yards behind line of scrimmage.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do? What is he supposed to do?
Yeah, you can't put that on Clyde, because he should at least get to the line of scrimmage without getting his butt kicked. You know what I mean? Like, that's on the O-line. And I'm sure those guys would tell you that too. Marxism, is MVS getting exposed? I mean, he is what he is. I don't know that it's exposing anything that we didn't know already. Can't seem to run effective routes. I will say this. I agree with you. Like, he's not accentuating his positives like he should in order to make some plays. So that is a fair point. No way in hell you pay him 20. Yeah. I mean, this is a problem. And again, when you have other options, when you have Sky Moore you're not using, when you have Juju that you're not using to his full effect, when outside of Travis, he had the best day out there, and you didn't feed him enough.
Yep.
I mean, I guess 8 targets, I guess that's okay. But when your offense is sputtering and your number 1 guy in Travis gets 8 targets and your number 2 guy in Juju only gets 8 targets, that's not enough.
Yeah.
Ronaldo, typical Andy Reid. I'm so smart until I looked up. Sometimes that does happen, you know, and it's where the refusal to just dumb it down and play fundamental football and just go at somebody that drives me nuts. 1 out of 10. How big is of a Amendola fan are you? I'm guessing. I'd say he's doing a 5 or a 6 job.
Like I said, man, I think that he got a ton of confidence taken from him after not being allowed to kick that field goal the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and by the way, folks, that question is from Sean. Check out his channel at Big Chief Sean. You can see him here on the pre-games as well. Canadian Chief, let's face it, there's something between EB and Mahomes and Nagy. Now, again, do we thank EB and move on? I found it very interesting that I didn't see Nagy really talking to Patrick much, especially as that whole confrontation came down. So it really does feel to be like Matt's putting his input in during the week in the game plan, and he's not really in that circle as calls are going in. I don't know what happened at halftime. I would hope that Matt Nagy's voice was bigger than it appears to be.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay. You think I'm wrong?
I just think that he's not doing it. Like, I agree with you that it needs to be, but I believe that he's very much a backseat rider and just waiting, which he shouldn't be just waiting. But,
sorry, folks, I'm going to knock out a bunch of these
spammers.
Yeah, apologies. Kudos to Aaron and Liz. I know they're going through a family thing. Hope you guys are doing well if you see this. But hope
you guys are doing all right.
I'm running the chat moderation today, and it ain't going so well. So
yeah,
we're going to wrap it up here in a minute. I'm just checking for last super chats. Make sure we get you what you are getting for us. We appreciate you very much. Iron Man's done with LBJ. Okay, that's fine. I get it. Blue Fires. Veach terrible at skill positions. Terrible at edge, wide receiver, OT. 2 of those aren't skill positions, but I mean, his wide receiver choices are interesting. I won't say that he's terrible. I think that I think this staff in general, what we see in this wide receiver group still is better than the wide receiver group as a whole last season. But it's definitely like they find one thing they like and they think they can replicate it, but the coaching staff doesn't necessarily make that happen.
Yeah, they need to. It's still, again, it's essentially a brand new wide receiver core. Like, it's week 3. I know that they had a good week 1. obviously the Cardinals are really bad. They're just not very good. They have to go back to the drawing board, find out some things that work, and start to understand the strengths and weaknesses of these guys and get them on the field. Like Sky Moore's instances, get them a little bit more involved, use Juju underneath more, which I thought they would be, and they're not. So I mean, you gotta start doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Last question, and we'll wrap it up here from Jaden and TPT podcast. Check him out as well. Chiefs should be mad going into Tampa Bay. Yes, that's a big plus, actually. It's going to be a dogfight, and Andy can't get out coached. I'm not too worried about that, I got to tell you. I think this is a slap in the face for the staff as well. They got to put it together. And let's be real. They got to get it together because there's a good pass rusher in Tampa Bay as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be available, but they have an opportunity for the O-line to bounce, or the tackles to bounce back.
Yeah, I hope so. They just have to find a way to get them some help and not always leave them on islands. I know I see some chips every now and then, but they got to do a better job of finding ways to help out Orlando Brown, especially when there's a faster guy on his side. You got to help him.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a little gamesmanship going on here. We'll talk about what the game plan is going to be and how they get to that point. Mm-hmm. They got to get Sky more involved. I mean, at this point, I think you have to get creative to the point that you're not holding yourself back. And I feel like that's what the play call was today. Folks, we're going to be back with every Q&A tomorrow night for everything that we find out here in the meantime. So make sure you're here 6 p.m. Like, sub, hit that bell now. Then we have the film breakdowns. Zan and I will both get a piece this week. I'm sure we'll have plenty to find. We have the stat breakdown from Gary. We have Seth. We have Jason Dunn, who will be back with us. Let's go. You want to make sure that you hit the channel, sub right now. We're going up 35, 40,000 is my goal. Let's see if we can get there. You guys are going to make that happen. Join Chiefs Kingdom and Rogue Nation. We appreciate you. Any last thoughts, Dan?
No, just kind of excited to get to next week. I'm not going to be super happy looking at this film. Obviously, it's going to be pretty upsetting. So if you guys think of anything for the In Harm's Way this week, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter at InHarmsWay19. We'll hash this out. Maybe we'll bad talk somebody. Who knows?
Well, let's have a bitter week and hope the Chiefs can respond. Thank you guys for being here. Enjoy your Sunday night. We'll talk to you next time.